Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Friday, January 3rd, and you're kicking it with Kicks. Back for the three-peat tonight. That's right. This 2025, I'm hoping to up my stream frequency so I can finally hit my 1,000 goal of 1,000 subs by the end of the year. So today we are going to be unboxing the Marvel Legends 2-pack from the Amazing Spider-Man. So this is the 6-arm Spider-Man and Morbius 2-pack. This actually happened in the comics, but the only story that I really know is from the Fox 90s cartoon in terms of how he mutated with the 6 arms and then eventually turned into the Man Spider. That actually was a collaboration with the X-Men X-Men cartoon, and they had a little bit of a crossover between the Spider-Man and X-Men cartoons around that time. So, but this Morbius is the comic version. There was a second release of Morbius and Doctor Strange from the 90s Fox cartoon. So that's another 2-pack. So if you're interested in that, definitely go take a look. But let's waste no time and crack them open. First and foremost, of course, I'll get my handy dandy unboxing gloves going on here. And if you're tuning in for the first time, let me know where you're coming from. Say what's up in the chat, and let me know what you're into. First stream that we had for this year was actually the red Soundwave, the non-transforming Soundwave. And then yesterday we looked at the Tracksuit Mafia from Marvel Legends as well. So let's go ahead and take a closer look rather at the packaging here. So we'll take a look and pull this up right now from a packaging perspective. Standard Marvel Legends 2-pack. This is before they started going back to the Windows sort of display, so you can't really see what's inside. All cardboard over here. So the Marvel Legends series, of course, Spider-Man and Morbius. You can see it is the 6-arm version of Spider-Man. And then you can also see that, you have a comic version of Morbius right over here with the Amazing Spider-Man comic logo on the bottom here with all the fun logos all the way around. On one side, you see Spider-Man and Morbius. On the other side, you see a comic panel of 6-arm Spider-Man. On the top, you see the Spider-Man logo. Bottom, the usual legal stuff. And then on the back, you see Spider-Man and the accessories that he comes with. So he comes with another whipping hand and another fist. And then Morbius has some type of cape and switchable. I think they have this on the top. I think it's kind of like wings that kind of splay out there with his arms. So we're going to go ahead and crack these guys open. Can't recall when they came out. This is definitely not a new set, but as I was building my Spider-Verse over the years, I have, the standard Spider-Man. I have a Man Spider. So the Man Spider is pretty much a 6-arm Spider-Man, but he looks more mutated and like an actual tarantula in human form. So this is the natural step from going standard Spider-Man, 6-arm Spider-Man to Man Spider. So this was definitely a piece that I needed to add. This was actually a very similar one was released as an individual figure, but I don't believe it had any type of ab crunch or a waist rotation. So this is basically the upgrade to that previous version over here. So let's see what is packed inside. Little legal paper, which we'll get rid of course. Pull out this tray. And let's get all this stuff out. That. Something in there, something in here. We'll recycle this. And get them off to the side. And let's go ahead and clear. Get everything out of the box. And feel free to, again, drop your questions or anything you have in the chat. And we'll go ahead and address those in real time. You have the 2 capes, the hanging down cape and the, I guess, flying cape for Morbius. You have, what do we have here? Come on. You have some extra hands for Spider-Man. We have the Spider-Man figure. And we also have the Morbius figure. So 2 figures. Yo, what's going on? Figure Kid. Sorry you missed the previous streams. Yo, no problem, man. I'm trying to up the frequency on streams this year where possible. I was just saying how on Wednesday we did the non-transforming Soundwave by Hasbro, the Red series. Yesterday we did the Tracksuit Mafia, which is from the Hawkeye show on Disney Plus. And then, yeah, we're getting into some more Marvel Legends with this Spider-Man 2-pack here. But how you doing this Friday? What are you saying today? All right, let's just get everything out so people can see. And let's zoom in a little bit just to get a little bit of a closer look. All right, I think that looks good. So let's go ahead and talk about the figure, or figures rather, since we're going through both, and start off with Spider-Man. So this is the Spider-Man figure in hand. Looking pretty good. And we'll go over all the articulation and all that other types of stuff for sure. Got to go to bed. So sorry. Yeah, no problem. Appreciate you joining. Drop a like and a sub if you haven't already, which would be awesome. Just to kind of get a little bit more engagement on the stream. Would really appreciate that. But the figure, let's take a look at the figure right over here. A little bit closer. We'll go over the articulation later, but otherwise, first impressions in hand look pretty good. And then some of the accessories that it comes with are the flipping hand over here, and then also this closed fist hand over here, which is pretty cool. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, Figure Kid. All right, next one we got is the Morbius figure. There's that first look of the Morbius figure in hand. Again, this is the comic version. Definitely different than the 90s version from the Fox cartoon, but still looking pretty good. I don't really care for this figure too much. The main reason why I got this 2-pack was, again, to add this 6-arm Spider-Man to my my Spider-Verse. And then the 2 accessories that you have are this cape, just kind of hanging down. And then you also have this cape for more of like a flying pose. And that's pretty much all you get. No unmasked head, but I do have a couple unmasked Peter Parker heads that I could probably swap there. And then for Morbius, no additional hands or anything like that. So this is pretty much all you get over here. Let's go over Morbius so we can get him out of the way, because it'll take a little, it'll be much faster rather than going through the 6-arm Spider-Man with the extra arms and stuff that we have over here. So taking a look at Morbius, first and foremost, older body. Reason you could tell is the pins on the arms over here. So you can see them on the elbow and the bicep. Then you also see it on the thigh and the calf kind of area over here. So an older mold. New Marvel Legends typically have a pinless look. Let's take a look at this one. Actually, the Spider-Man also has, pinned joints on every single arm, including the top. So again, older technology on these 2 figures. But let's take a look and see what Morbius, what type of range of articulation Morbius has. So taking a look at his head first, let's go ahead, and he's just seemingly on a ball joint, but the hair, because it is long, it does hinder the amount of tilt that you get, because the hair does come into contact with the trap and neck sort of area. And then let's see how far forward. Okay, so you could bend down that far forward. Doesn't go that far back. 1, because of the hair, and 2, because of this kind of like cape, like neck kind of collar area over here. And that's about it. And when it comes down to the arms, your standard arms that can go out this far. No butterfly joint, so there's no cuts over here around the lats and I guess like the shoulder blade kind of area, or through the chest. So that's as far as you can get for the motion there. And then he does have a bicep swivel to rotate here with these 2 pins. That does give you a double jointed elbow. to come up that far. And then the standard wrist kind of peg where it's just kind of a peg that goes in there. And then you get a bit of a hinge over here just to kind of claw forward and back. And then you can rotate that over here. As we get to the midsection, you can see that he does have this ab crunch. So he can go that far forward, that far back, and then a waist swivel at the red belt right over here. Leg can kick up this high, go that far back, but then you can have this double jointed knee joint to bend that far. And then you also have this thigh cut over here to twist and turn the thigh. And then you also have a calf cut or boot cut over here. So you can twist that. Toe comes up that high, goes that far back, and then some ankle tiltage over here. And then you do have the 2 sockets in the heels to hook this up to a standing display or anything like that. So pretty basic figure, dated mold for this one. And then you have 2 different accessories, which are, again, the 2 different versions of the cape. So this peg and cape system, these just connect right over here. That fits just like this. So that's just him with his cape down. See this? And then the way they have him flying in the front of the box, you just take the same thing, take this peg, plug that into the back, swing up, and they have him kind of shown with his arms kind of matching the way that his cape is sort of positioned, something like that. So that's kind of like his, I guess, his flying, more dynamic action pose instead of just the standard cape that's just kind of hanging down low. So that is Morbius. Again, this is just kind of an extra add-on. The main figure that I think everybody wanted that was looking for this this 2-pack, that purchased this 2-pack, was likely the 6-arm Spider-Man, because it is, again, an upgrade from the original release. Let's go ahead and put this guy off to the side. And before we do that, actually, go ahead and take a look at the height over here. So he does measure, clocking in just about 6¼ inches in height on the side over here. And that's all she wrote for Morbius. This we will put over here. Let's actually switch up the banner here because we're going over articulation. Let's take a look at the Spider-Man one more time, head to toe. We talked about the figure at first glance, but then you also do have these 2 hands to swap these out. So we'll go ahead and do those later on. But taking a look a little bit closer at Spider-Man, all the paint apps look pretty good. You have the ripped suit from where everything kind of, ripped out from the sides where his out of the ribs, I guess, where the extra arms kind of came out. Not seeing too many paint issues or any paint issues. There is a little bit of paint flaking, but nothing crazy. I'm going to take a look. There is a little bit of a paint on the flesh piece on the bottom over there, but very hardly noticeable and kind of tucked in on the inside. But let's go ahead and take a look at Spider-Man's articulation. So taking a look at that head on a ball joint, so you get a very slight rock side to side. It does seem like a more slender, skinny head compared to some of the other, Spider-Man molds and Spider-Man head designs specifically. We'll go ahead and bend this forward. Goes that far down, tucks into the neck really well. And then let's see how far back. So he looks up pretty high, which is nice as well. You have him kind of like diving into the scene. And let's take a look at the arms. All right, so starting with the standard arms, they go out that far. There is no butterfly joint cut in the back or in the front and the chest, so that's as far as you go. And then you also have this bicep swivel over here. Again, older design with the pegs, and that's a double jointed elbow, just like that. And then the standard wrist peg that's in there on this little hinge. And then so this can spin and it goes forward that far, back that far. And since we're on these, we can go ahead and show you the hands that get swapped out. So if you want 2 thwipping hands, you can go ahead and do this. Have Spider-Man pointing his thwipping hands forward. Or you could take these off and very similarly peg these into the wrist sockets. And then you can have 6 closed fists in total. So we'll go into some posing later on, but let's just go ahead and get these arms out of the way since we took care of the top 2 arms. Let's take a look at the second set of arms. These ones are moved a little bit further back. So the top arms and the bottom arms are a little bit more aligned. This one comes a little bit more out of the back of the ribs over here. But you can go up this high, sit from behind. Again, you have the bicep swivel over here. You have the double jointed elbows here. And then closed fisted hands on all 4 of the I guess like the plain arms without the costumes. So bends that far forward and this far back. And that goes for that side. Let's go ahead and move these out of the way. And then finally, the lower 2 arms, pretty much identical to the ones on top. Go far out this high. Again, you have your bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, like that. And then the exact same wrist tilt forward and back, just like that. So all the arms are identical. I'm trying to take a look to see if any of the paint apps are different on the like shoulder socket piece. And it looks like they are all slightly different. Yep. All of these like blue areas of where the arms kind of pop out, they are slightly different from each other. So that's, at least there is a little bit of differentiation when you're taking a look at that back design in terms of how the suit ripped when the arms kind of came out. So that's a little nice detail that they had. But the one thing again showing its age are all these joints from the pegs that you can see, you know, compared to the pinless designs on the new Marvel Legends. Now you also do have this kind of ab or ab crunch slash swivel on the upper body over here, so he can bend this far forward. You could bend that far back, so not too much. And I think that's just because there's a lot going on with these arms. There is no waist swivel on this piece over here. The leg can come this far up, go this far back, but then you have the double jointed knee. Come on, there you go. I can bend that far forward. And then you do have 2 cuts in the leg. One of them is the thigh cut right over here. So you can go ahead and twist Spidey's thigh. and then also the boot cut or the calf cut right over here. And so you can twist his leg like so. And then finally, getting to the bottom, you can tilt that far up. You can go that far back. And you can swivel side to side. And then, of course, you have your two sockets on the bottom there to hook up to a display stand or anything like that to kind of get them mobile. So one thing that I wanted to do, at least with this figure, because he is, more dynamic looking, is just getting him into like a cool kind of pose of like having all the arms like splayed out. So I know, let's take a look maybe at some of the box and see how they have him positioned as well. But let's try and do some stuff on my own right now. To start, get a leg up. There you go. So 6 arms in total on this bad boy. Not the best pose. On the box, they actually have both of these arms are kind of like flexed up, like ready to box. These arms are out. And then these arms are actually shooting the webs, which kind of makes sense, where you can capture his villains and draw them in with these and just kick their ass with the other hands. There we go. So not a Spider-Man that I'd want to be running into. Not like anyone who would ever want to run into Spider-Man anyway, but Spider-Man with 6 arms is definitely not ideal, because he does have superhuman strength. And that is the 6th arm Spider-Man. Forgot to clock in his height, so let's go get him measured up real quick. Spider-Man is standing, clocked in at, see him standing up straight, just over 6 inches, probably like 6 and an eighth or so when you get him measured up. And then because he has his arms kind of like splayed out, wide, and they kind of stack on each other, he's almost 4 inches wide with all the arms. I'm pretty sure I could tuck them in a little bit more, but the way that everything is sitting right now. Let's see how compressed we can get this dude. We can get him to about 2 and a quarter or so at his most slender. But of course, with 6-arm Spider-Man, I think a lot of what people are looking for is to get the additional arms just kind of outstretched like this. Get him posed up again one more time. And there he is, 6-arm Spider-Man in the Morbius 2-pack. And this is everything you get in that 2-pack. You have the Spider-Man with the 2 flipping hands. You have 2 closed fist hands. You have Morbius with a cape that hangs down, and then one that swings up for more active and dynamic posing. And that's pretty much all she wrote. As mentioned, when I picked this up, this was very specifically to round out the Spider-Verse. I have a bunch of different Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man and Miles Morales Spider-Man. And then I had a man spider, which is when he goes through his mutation phase after this six arm, when he actually looks more like a tarantula, like a life human sized kind of tarantula. So originally I mentioned that there is a six arm older version of this that came out on an original Marvel Legends release that had less articulation than this one. And so I missed that, and it's kind of like an arm and a leg to get these days. And then they released this updated version with the Morbius. So I ended up picking this one up just to kind of help complete my Spider Verse to kind of show the evolution of Spider Man to six arm Spider Man to Man Spider. So at some point, I'll certainly take out some of my other versions of Spider Man, especially the ones with the unmasked head. So I can throw like a Peter Parker head on this body. The other thing I'll do is I'll do a direct comparison with the six arm Spider Man and the Man Spider, the one that looks more like a tarantula. But that's pretty much all she wrote. You know, I didn't want to stream too long. The goal for me is just to, stream, more frequently in shorter bursts, just to kind of cover a lot of the unboxing backlog of things that I have that have either been sitting in storage or stuff that's been sort of gifted to me or that I've won through either contests or through work. But in any case, I just kind of want to show case different types of fandom that I'm into. So the first stream that we kicked off on Wednesday was on New Year was the Hasbro Red Soundwave because I'm into Transformers. Yesterday we looked into the Disney Plus Tracksuit Mafia from the Hawkeye Disney Plus show, and we opened two of those just to kind of explain what um, army building is. If you missed that episode, army building is the thought of picking up a whole bunch of different generic figures, whether they're literally, infantry and army fatigues, if they are street level thugs, if they're goons, anything like that. That's what you would consider like an army builder. So you can use them for toy photography and just to kind of enhance your display. And then today we went still with more Hasbro stuff and still with Marvel Legends, but then jumping into the Amazing Spider-Man comic. I grew up reading a lot of Spider-Man and Venom comics as a kid, and as mentioned, watching the Fox 90s cartoon. There is an episode where Spider-Man undergoes a mutation. He starts growing these arms and going through a whole bunch of different kind of things, and then there's a crossover with the X-Men, 90s series as well. So he goes to the mansion because he's going through his mutation. He decides, I need to talk to Professor X to try and help me out. And then this is kind of one of the mutations that he kind of goes through in that arc. So definitely, go back into the onto either YouTube and you can definitely check that out. But as mentioned, I'll definitely pick out the Man Spider out of my collection at some point and do that direct comparison with the six arm Spider Man. But that is pretty much it, short and sweet. If you like what you see, definitely make sure to hit that like and subscribe to support the channel. Try and hit 1,000 by the end of the year. And if there's anything specific that you're looking for, please let me know. I have Transformers, I have Marvel Legends, I have a Spider Verse, my MCU collection, my Smash collection, Transformers, and then I also stream platform games, retro games, and Super Smash Brothers from time to time. So if you're into any of those things, then definitely this is the channel for you. And really looking forward to getting more streams up in future. In any case, that is about it. So we'll keep it short and sweet. Hope you have a great night and weekend, and we will see you soon. Peace.